Of course, there are things like HIV and AIDS to me seems more obvious because of the DEI buzzwords that our office used to explain our research. But 31% cut to cancer funding, cancer research funding is just, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. It, it's like, these things aren't really political, and I struggle to think of how cancer research is a political ploy or some sort of efficiency issue. I would say that
Mhm.
cancer touches everyone. I don't know anyone that's not been touched by cancer, either themselves or a family member or friend. So
Mhm.
that in itself is very upsetting. I can read off a couple of other grants that have since been canceled. One of them is a grant for about $650,000 for immunization and vaccines for children, and that is in Indiana, for example. So there's a lot of states that have lost this funding as well. We also have a grant that was about $127,000 for surveillance and response to avian and pandemic influenza. So that's things like bird flu and other smaller pandemics that could, really affect our population. So to me, looking at these grants, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of controversial things happening in them, but they've still been targeted by this administration. So it's pretty sad.
Ashley, I have a really dopey question that I should know. So I know that CDC's been decimated, NIH and CDC.
Two separate entities. Yeah.
So yeah, in addition to the NIH cuts for like the bird flu that you just talked about, like CDC has also had a
Yes.
ton of cuts, correct? Okay.
And I would say for folks unfamiliar, the biggest difference between NIH and CDC is NIH imagine funding for people in a lab that are, working with test tubes and stuff like that. CDC is the implementation of this research. So CDC is, they're doing a lot of the pandemic tracking. They tracked COVID cases around the country when COVID was first starting and continuing on. So there are a lot of different parts of, medical and scientific research that are being hit for both of these agencies.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I guess that's another part of the problem is in addition to all the funding cuts, all of the people that are losing their positions,
Mhm.
um, all the information that you said that you had to edit on the website, like it's not just editing stuff, they're taking like wholesale data sets off these websites. So like if you, the public, want to educate yourself about these numbers, like it's gone. I
Mhm.
know there's a lot of people out there who are working to save that information, but